Hey, it's our wedding anniversary, and I have a lot of dishes ready for us today. I told my husband that I would be waiting for him to cook for our fifth wedding anniversary, but he said he couldn't come home because he had to go on a business trip on short notice.
Dishes? I don't care what you did. If you can't eat it alone, why don't you just throw it away in the garbage?
The moment he told me to throw it away, I felt my love for my husband rapidly disappear. Okay, I'll just throw it away. Oh yeah, and my name is Lucy. I am 29 years old now, and I work in an office. I'm not good with socializing, and I don't have anyone at work that I'm close enough to go out in private. I live alone, have no boyfriend, and spend my holidays alone. I am often asked whether I am lonely without a boyfriend, but I enjoy my hobbies and have never felt lonely. My hobby is cooking, and I like to cook dishes from all over the world that I have never eaten before. I often go all the way to supermarkets in the next city that deals with imported foods to cook foreign dishes. I enjoy spending time alone, so I have never strongly thought about having a boyfriend. But sometimes I wish I had a child. I imagine that it would be fun to cook and make sweets with my children. Still, I didn't try to expand my social connections and gave up on the idea that it would be impossible for me, who always spent my days going back and forth between work and home. Then there was a drinking party at work. The chairman of our company runs several companies, and it was a joint drinking party for all of them. I always attended these drinking parties, which I actually don't want to go, but I can't say no. And I kill time by sitting in the corner and having a few drinks while snacking on food, even though no one else is eating because they are busy talking and drinking. This time, however, there was a man who was actively talking to me. That man was Fred, who will become my husband. He talked to me a lot, and at first, I was a bit confused. But Fred did not force me to get closer to him, and was kind and considerate. I immediately fell in love with him because I had little experience in love relationships. We then exchanged contact information. Fred confessed his feelings for me, and we started dating. 6 months later, he proposed to me. My husband praises my cooking as delicious, and always thanks me for cleaning and doing laundry. I thought I had married a good man, and that I could build a happy family with him. However, that happy life did not last long. At first, he thanked me for doing the house chores, but before I knew it, it had become the norm for me to do it. I come home earlier than my husband, but I also work, so it is a heavy burden for me to do all the housework. I asked my husband to help me as much as he can.
Housework is for women, isn't it? Besides, you say you are working, but you're just doing simple work, and I don't have time to do it, so you do it.
He told me that my office work is simple. And not only did he not want to improve, but he looked down on me. I was never good at talking back, so I couldn't argue and just accepted what my husband said. I was forced to do all the housework, so I did all the cleaning around the house, but there was one place I couldn't touch. That was the shelf for my husband. My husband is not good at cooking and organizing, and his shelves are always a mess. Since he can no longer fit things on the shelf, papers and things are piled up on the shelves. This pile of papers collapses once a week. I tried to clean this up once when I told my husband to do something about this.
Don't touch it without my permission. There's stuff from work, so leave it as it is.
Then you should tidy up. I might throw them away by mistake.
Then you will be at fault. Don't do anything you don't need to do.
My husband forbade me from even touching it, so I couldn't put it away. So I just kept putting the papers back when they collapsed. I hated that he took it for granted that I would do the housework, but what made me the saddest was that we rarely ate dinner together anymore. When we were first married, he would call me as soon as he knew he would have dinner outside with his colleagues, but now he won't tell me unless I ask him. Even when we were able to eat together, my husband looks at his phone and eats in silence. I have asked him to stop, but he won't let go of his phone and keeps saying he is checking on his work. Even though these things were going on, I didn't want to divorce him. I grew up in the countryside, and it was natural for me to stay with my husband until the end of our lives, so I had never thought of divorce. After 5 years of marriage, when I had become accustomed to my husband's arrogance, a piece of paper fell out of the stack of papers on the shelf. It was a credit card statement. Normally, I would have put it back on the shelf, but I was a little curious and looked through it. There was a list of all the transactions, and among them was the name of a well-known theme park. I have never been to a theme park with my husband. My husband often goes out with his workmates and friends, but I don't think he goes to theme parks with them. So he is cheating on me. I have no conclusive evidence, but I could only assume that. From there, I looked through the pile of papers for any other evidence, and found a year's worth of credit card statements. There, I found a history of everything, from the names of luxury hotels and fine restaurants to airline tickets that I assumed he has spent on behalf of his cheating partner. When I checked the dates he spent the money, I found that they coincided with days when my husband said he was going on a business trip, or would be late for a drink. Still, at that time I thought that if I told my husband that I knew he was cheating on me, he would apologize and come back to me. Maybe I wanted to think that the affair was just for fun, and that he actually cares more about me because we are married. I decided that I would tell my husband about the affair on our wedding anniversary. He was on a business trip when I looked at our credit card statement, and our wedding anniversary was just around the time he returned from his business trip. I called my husband to let him come straight home when he got back from his business trip.
Oh, what the heck? You called me out of the blue.
Do you have time right now?
Tell me quickly what the requirement is.
You will be back from your business trip in 3 days. It's our wedding anniversary. I'll be waiting for you with a lot of dishes for the anniversary, so don't go out for a drink and come back straight home.
Yes, okay.
My husband said in a bothersome manner, and immediately hung up the phone. For our first wedding anniversary, I made my husband's favorite gratin and onion soup, and he was very happy. I decided to make the same dishes this year and bought and prepared ingredients and new dishes for our wedding anniversary. I thought that if I told my husband about the affair and he apologized, I would forgive him. Then came the day of our anniversary. I finished most of the cooking, but my husband did not come home. I called him, but he did not answer the phone, so I was worried that he might have been in an accident. After the 5th call, my husband finally answered. "Where are you?"
I'm at the airport. Why do you ask?
Huh?
Didn't I tell you? Because I'm about to go on another business trip.
You didn't tell me anything about that.
It can't be helped. It's work.
Do you have a job that requires you to go on business trips that often?
You don't know anything about my job, so don't talk nonsense. Anyway, it is time to go.
Hey, we're celebrating our wedding anniversary today, and I've prepared the food.
I don't care about that. If you can't eat it alone, why don't you just throw it away in the garbage?
The moment he told me to throw it away, I felt the remained love for my husband fading. I was the one who was waiting for him to come home a while ago, but now I even feel disgusted. Okay, I'll throw it away. Oh, yes, your room is getting much dirtier, so I'll just clean it up.
Suit yourself. I'm running out of time, so I'm hanging up.
The phone hangs up and I immediately start cleaning. I put the papers piled on top of the shelf of my husband that I was told not to touch into garbage bags, and I'm going to put them in the bulky trash tomorrow. The shelf I was not allowed to tidy up is now clear and organized. They say that cleaning makes you feel better and relieves stress, and they are so true. The resentment that had been building up for a few years was lifted. Now that I was refreshed, I decided to serve the food I had prepared and have dinner. Usually when my husband did not come home, or when he was home, it was a lonely dinner with no conversation. But today, I was able to enjoy my meal. I savored each dish with the wine that went with it, just as I did when I lived alone. I made enough for 2 people, so what I couldn't finish I will eat tomorrow. It was exciting and fun to think about what kind of meal I will cook next time. I went to bed early that day because I had a lot of things to do tomorrow. 3 days later, I received a call from my husband. He was coming back from a business trip and asked me to pick him up. Normally, I would be too lazy to pick him up, but on this particular day, I was happy to do so. When I arrived at the airport, my husband was curt and unappreciative as usual. Welcome back. You always travel by train, so why did you fly this time?
It was a business trip to a distant place. Just think about it for a minute and you'll understand.
Do you remember I told you I'd clean up your room when I called you?
Did I say that?
Yeah, so I cleaned up all your stuff.
What have you done?
You told me to do it on my own, so what is the problem?
You threw away the stuff I had on my shelves?
Yeah, I got rid of it.
I told you not to touch it without my permission.
That's why I asked you, and you said yes. My husband's face turned pale, and he panicked. After thinking about it for a while, he gave up, nodded his head, and let out a loud sigh.
This is why I hate stupid women. I told you not to touch that all that time, but you... If there's a loss because of this, it's your fault. You have to do something about it.
What loss are you talking about?
There were all kinds of company documents and stuff. Maybe some things would be troublesome if it's gone.
You had company documents that shouldn't get lost?
Shut up. I told you not to interfere with my work. I'm not in charge of a job that anyone like you can do. I'm in charge of a job with responsibility. It's a normal thing for a man to do some work at home.
I was driving along, grinning inside as I listened to my husband. After about 20 minutes of driving, my husband finally noticed.
Hey, this isn't the direction of home. Where are you going?
I have someone I'm supposed to meet, and I'm almost there. It was already near my husband's office when he realized the destination was not home. We arrived at our destination, and I pulled into the parking lot and contacted someone on my phone. My husband must have thought he had nothing to do with it. He looked at his phone with a blank expression on his face. Mrs. Smith, my husband's boss, came to the parking lot. Thanks for your help, and I'm sorry to bother you. No, thank you for your cooperation as well.
What do you want with Mrs. Smith?
Mrs. Smith is a woman in her 30s, and she is the head of my husband's department. My husband doesn't like the fact that a woman not much older than him is the department head, and he often complained about Mrs. Smith at home. I heard that you were on a business trip. My husband seemed to be shocked, and his eyes were shaking. It's strange, isn't it? You're on paid leave.
I think I made a mistake in telling my wife.
My husband was trying to cover it up with a goofy smile, even though he couldn't get away with it. Actually, Jenny from accounting also took paid leave on the exact same day.
That's a coincidence.
Not only this time, but for about 3 years, you and Jenny's paid vacation dates have coincided. You know that you can't put it away as a coincidence. Fred now knew that this is not a situation that can be dealt with by laughing. My husband was in a cold sweat, and his expression was serious. The problem is not only about your relationship with Jenny, but also about the information leak. You took company documents and data without permission. Your wife brought the items you took out to the company. I did not throw away my husband's things. I turned them over to the company. I had always wondered why my husband was taking company documents home with him. Some of the things were USB flash drives, so I brought all of them to the company because I knew that if I threw them away without permission, the company would be in trouble. Even if it was safe to take out, I would have it put on my husband's desk at work and not at home. When I asked his colleagues to look through 2 garbage bags worth of stuff, they found some documents that would make anyone at work pale in the face. And on top of that, the USB flash drive contained data that was not allowed to be taken out of the office. You know what you did, right?
She did it on her own. I kept it at home properly, so I didn't leak any information.
That's not the point. Anyway, the president and the chairman are both waiting for you in the conference room, so please, come right away.
Why the president and the chairman?
To decide on your punishment. While you two were on an affair trip to Guam, we were having a hard time here.
How did you know we went to Guam?
Jenny, the woman you were having an affair with, posted a bunch of pictures of Guam on social media, including a 2-shot of you.
Damn that bitch.
Thank you for your cooperation, ma'am. Thanks to you, you were able to catch him without letting him get away. No, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. My husband was caught by Mrs. Smith and took the elevator up. My husband was then disciplined. My husband said he took the documents and data out of the office to work at home. He thought he could just return them the next day, but they just piled up. He didn't know anymore where the documents came from and didn't know whether to return them or dispose of them, so he just kept them at home. I filed for alimony against my husband and the person with whom he had an affair. Jenny left the company because she was no longer able to work there, but I sent a certified letter to her home because I knew where she lived. We had no children, and our marriage was short, so the alimony was small. However, Fred was not Jenny's only partner. She was also having an affair with a married man who was a business partner, who had a child and had been married for a long time. And because of the length of the affair, she was charged a large amount of alimony by her husband. Because of that, Jenny asked for a reduction of my alimony, and when I told her that if she objected, we would go to court, she immediately paid it. My husband tried to come back to me after he left me for his unfaithful partner, but I refused. I was getting ready to pack up my own stuff and leave.
I wouldn't allow you to leave without my permission.
He yelled at me and was very noisy, but I ignored him and proceeded with my preparations. When I finished packing my belongings and went out the door, my husband blocked the entrance.
You're the cause why I was fired and I have no money. But you dare leave me? Why are you so heartless?
You deserved everything from getting fired to being penniless. What are you saying now when you hate me enough to take a trip to Guam for our wedding anniversary with an adulterer? Can't you just let me go? If you don't let me go, I'll call the police. My husband reluctantly got out of the way. My husband was swearing until I got into the car. It was hilarious because my husband's swearing, which used to scare me, now sounded like a sore loser. After that, my husband's alimony of $20,000 was transferred to me in one lump sum. On the phone at the end, he was like,
I'll give you such a small amount of money, and I don't like women who are greedy for money, so I'm glad we got divorced. I know a bitch like you will be single for the rest of your life, so don't ask me if I want to come back to you. It's too much trouble.
He says so, but for my husband now, $20,000 must be a lot of money. In fact, the pile of documents my husband had left behind also contained ATM statements from a consumer credit company. There were also credit card statements where he had spent over $5,000 in 1 month paying for his unfaithful partner, so he must have been in debt because he had no money. Knowing that he was in debt, I thought he might not pay the alimony, but I am glad that he easily transferred the full amount. Since he is such a slacker, it seems like he is behind on his debt. I blocked all contact with my husband because it would be troublesome if he didn't pay his debts and had to rely on me. I am now an assistant at a cooking school. I quit my job after my divorce and moved far away. I used to think my cooking was a hobby and not at the level of a job. However, I got married and learned that I tend to give up because of various stereotypes. In order to break out of my shell, I decided to do my favorite cooking for my job. And I have a cat while living alone. I was told that having a pet would prevent one from being married, and I assumed the same thing. But I found out that such thinking was only hindering my challenge. I welcomed a shelter cat. And now I am addicted to cooking for cats, as well as for people.